Hello and welcome to this demonstration of Sapphire Systems Advanced Manufacturing Module. In this session we're going to look at a make-to-order item and process it from the sales order through the work order, MRP and procurement for components, to processing the work order through to booking in the stock. To start the process, we're going to create the demand through a sales order. So I'm going to go into the sales order screen and pick a customer. I'm going to select my item and then put in a quantity of 10. My available to promise comes up because I haven't got any in stock, so I'm going to OK that. I'm going to put in my date of when I wish to have these on the 27th. So now I've created my sales order. So because this is a make-to-stock item, I can link the work order directly to the sales order. So if I right-click, get the option to create work order. So now I can see here my work order suggestion. So I'm going to create that work order. So I go back to the sales order. Now if I right-click, I can go directly into the linked work order. So looking at the work order, I can see all of the components, I can see all the resources, I can see the sub-assembly and all of the required quantities. I've got an indication here of the loading on the work center. So I can see my total available for that resource is 288 and my demand at the moment is 175. So it's green because I'm still got capacity available. One thing we also have up here, because this parent item is serialized, I've set the system to pre-allocate the serial numbers. So this is going to make it easier when I book in the finished product, because those serial numbers have already been allocated to this order. If we were printing labels or documentation, then we'd also have the details for the serial numbers available. So I've created my demand and I now have my work order for that demand. So if I right-click, I look through my right-click menu, I have the option for material requirements. If I bring that report up, I can see that I have no inventory available for my components. So I'm going to run MRP, and MRP is going to calculate, and it's going to give me my procurement plan for these components. So I come out of that, close those windows. So now if I go to MRP, I can go into the MRP wizard. We can create scenarios in the MRP wizard to run. I've created this scenario which is only for the items and the components on the 9,000 bill, just to make this easy to see. So I'm going to run the calculation. It's going to process now, looking at the demand from the order and the quantities and the available materials. So now I can go into my order recommendation. So here we can see all of the materials that are required based on the sales order and then the work order. So I can now see all of the quantities required, and if I scroll across, you can see the default supplier has been selected for the purchase orders. So I've got 2 suppliers in there for those purchase orders. So I need to select the quantity, so I just change the screen mode and go into use pre-assign the number of days of demand that I want to calculate. So you can see now it's looked at this week's demand and it's populated all of the required quantities into my purchasing list. And this is all items. I can also just filter direct for the purchased items and then anything that would be set up as in-house. So from here I can now create the purchase order or the purchase request. Say yes. So here now I can see I've got the request against my 2 vendors. So here are all my items. So from here I can create the purchase order. So that's processing, creating a purchase order, adding all of those items. Moving on to the next supplier, here's my 2 items, so I can create purchase order. So now that's completed, and I've got greens here because I've got my procurement underway. So I can close these windows. If I go to purchasing, go to my purchase order. So here are my 2 purchase orders that were created for those components. So I'm just going to book those straight in. So I can go to my goods receipt PO, and I can add. That's now received all of those materials into stock. So I can go to my second order, again, copy to goods receipt PO, and I can add yes, and that's going to book those materials into stock. So if I cancel out of that, I can now go back to my work order, 78. I can right click, material requirements. I'm now green because I've got enough stock booked in of all the components. The one that is still red is my sub-assembly. So I haven't got any stock of that because I need to process my work order to book that in. But underneath, all the materials are available. That's just why that one is still red, because it's a sub-assembly. So I can close out of that window. And I can start processing my order. What I do at this point as well is just show you the report. So I'll preview the work order report. Now this report shows the order, all of the materials and the required quantities. Also has the routing and a unique barcode for the routing. So here this barcode 3,289 and 3,290 are unique to this order, and we can use this in the shop floor data collection to book users onto the resource using this barcode. So that's all they need to enter. So if I come back to my menu, go to factory data capture, pull up the terminal, log in as user 3. You've got some additional options here of when you arrive. See, Bob Smith is already logged in, so he's already arrived. So this is a time and attendance part of the system. And then I can log on to the work order. So there's a list of work orders that are active, but I can scan the barcode. So 3,289. So here's my 12002 assembly. So I'll log on to that assembly, look at my order status just to confirm. So now this user is logged on to that work order. So I'll come out of the terminal and go back to the order. So I want some time to elapse before I go back to the terminal. So now I'm going to look through my sub-assembly. So as you may have seen in previous sessions, these A's represent that these are set up to backflush based on a time booking of resource 10. So I'm going to create my time receipt against that resource. So I'm going to select a user, and I'm going to put in some time. So over here I can see that 50 minutes was the plan. So I'll go to plan 50 minutes, and the quantity was 10. So now I'm going to book that and confirm completion. So this is going to consume the materials, which is why I'm getting this message that I can't call off. So now we can see that I've got my plan and my actual. There was my time that I booked. It's automatically consumed the components based on that time booking. And now to finish that sub-assembly off, I'm going to create a post in. So here it's defaulted to 10, which is the required quantity, and I'm going to enter that. So now for my sub-assembly, I've got my plan of 10 and my actual of 10, my raw materials I've consumed, and my time I've booked. So that sub-assembly is now complete and in stock, ready to be consumed at the next stage, which is going to be the processing of the parent. So if we go back to the terminal now, because some time has elapsed, so if I log back in as Bob, and I want to log off work order. So it brings me this dialog, and potentially you can log on to multiple orders, which is why I've got this drop down, so I can either scan the barcode again, or I can select it from the drop down. See, the elapsed time has been calculated as 3 minutes, and the quantity that's been completed. So I'm going to, just for this demonstration, show you the time is calculated, but I'll put in 300 minutes. And I'm going to say that that is a complete. So then I can log out of the terminal, just refresh my order. So now we can see that I've got my time booked against the assembly. I've consumed all of my raw materials. So the last thing I'm going to do with the routing is just book my inspection time. So I can right click, create time receipt. Then I could do this through the terminal. So I'm going to say, yeah, it's taking me 15 minutes to run my inspection for the 10. So I'm going to confirm completion. I need to select the user, confirm completion, yes. So now I've got my time bookings as well. So my time for inspection is booked, my time for assembly is booked, my raw materials have all been consumed. So now, to complete the order, I just need to do my posting of my finished product. So I need to do 10 and enter. So now it brings up the dialog that these are my pre-assigned serial numbers. So yes, I want to definitely transfer those to the order and enter. So now if I go back to my order, I can see all of those serial numbers have been booked. There's a quality control behind that as well, so you can see the quality orders that have also been created. And my sub-assembly is completed as well. So now I can go in and look at my quality orders. So my samples my items are blocked because I need to flag them as being okay. So here I can see all of my serial numbers. So it's just a visual inspection. I'm going to say they're all okay. And update. So now my samples have all been, my serial numbers have all been unblocked. So that's now processed the order all the way through production. I now have my material in stock. So now I can come back to my sales order. And I can create a delivery. I just changed the warehouse because everything is still in the QC warehouse. And I can add. Now, because it's serialized, I get the dialog to pick the serial numbers. So I'm going to auto-select to pull all of those serial numbers across. And I'm going to update. And OK. And add. So now the delivery has been created. And the sales order is now closed because I've completely delivered. So that completed this demonstration. To recap, we looked at creating a sales order, to create demand on the system, link to work order, ran MRP to get the material requirements plan, created the purchase orders, booked those in, processed the work order to book the time, consume the raw materials, book in the finished products. We showed the terminal, how that can be used to create those transactions as well. And then we looked at the quality control orders, and then we finally delivered the finished product. Thank you very much for your attention.